Happy New Year's, my Toonheads! Nope, don't like that! Another year has passed and a new year has started. 2017 has been an interesting year as far as entertainment is concerned. We've had some highs, we've had some lows. And while yes, this has been a disappointing year at the box office, oversaturation of animated movies, anyone? Oh come on, we have 15 major releases and only 3 or 4 of them were any good. Anyway, good things came out of 2017, and these are my favorites. And I'll warn you, some of these things I just discovered this year that have been out for years now. So maybe I should title this Toonamps' favorite things that I just discovered for the first time. Oh, what the heck. 2017, Toonamps' favorite experiences. The Toonamp experience. No, absolutely not. Now I gotta warn you, these are my favorite things. So if there's something that you don't like that's on here, that's okay. And there's something that's not on here that you like, well, that's okay too. By the way, just a word of warning, I have not watched the regular show season finale. I kind of petered out on that show mid-third season. Might catch up with that. Anyway, let's start. Toonamps' favorite things. I'm not gonna do that. Nope. Tangled the series. You know what's strange? Out of all the shows that Disney has made in 2017, the one I really like is Tangled the series. No offense to DuckTales. I think DuckTales is great, but I think Tangled's setup is brilliant. From the 2-parter premiere and throughout the entire first 20 episodes, you get this great build-up. You get to know these characters to where you get to care about them. You see returning characters constantly from both the movie and from the series. Plus, you also get great emotions from every single character. If I didn't know any better, I could have sworn the writing was from an anime at times. It's a sequel to a movie I never thought I would want a sequel from, but it works out really well, and I really appreciate that it's not frozen. Every character is just like they were in the movie. Rapunzel is ever the optimistic who wants more from life. Disney princess, what do you expect? Eugene is trying to change his old ways from a past that tends to come back to haunt him, and he still gets great one-liners. We are introduced to Cassandra and Varian, who are great new additions to this group. Especially Cassandra, who plays off Rapunzel and Eugene perfectly. The king and queen are enjoyable. The ruffians from the bars are great, except we don't have Brad Garrett. It's either time or money that's the issue with that. If I had to list what I think is the best new Western animated series that has come out in 2017, I believe Tangled would be probably at the top. In fact, it probably would be my #1 favorite Western cartoon series for 2017 overall. It's a good series, go watch it. Digimon Adventure Try. You know, I think there's a misconception that Hollywood has when we say we want things from our childhood to grow up with us. What we want, especially when it comes to cartoons, is for things to be more mature so we can have adult conversations. More emotions, more suspense. And I'm not talking about comedy cartoons so much as I'm talking about action-adventure cartoons. But Hollywood tends to think what we mean when we say we want our cartoons to grow up with us is sexual humor, fart jokes, drug references, and goofy comedy. Most of these things don't belong in an action-adventure cartoon because they don't tend to be subtle. So it's really disappointing when we find a lot of things in cartoons and movies that are supposed to be more mature, like, say, Transformers and Batman and Harley Quinn, and we find the things that I've just referenced. For a lot of times, it really takes away from the actual movie or story they are presenting. In reality, this is kind of a step back in maturity than what the original cartoon was. Now I'm going to talk about another continuation of a cartoon that grew up with its audience later on. But let's talk about a cartoon that grew up with its audience and does everything right. That is, of course, Digimon Adventure Try. Cause you wanna talk about an emotional roller coaster, Digimon Adventure Try really works well. These characters that we first met 18 years ago have grown up. They all have gone their separate ways. They all have personalities of their own, and they all have real world problems in their lives. They have fear, they have heartache. This is a sequel series that understands its audience because, for the most part, it's not trying to sell toys to kids. This is a series where the toys, if there are any, come in second and the story and the characters come in first. And while some can argue that this was what the original series did, I don't think the original series was as well thought out as the movie series is. Especially when compared to the Saban dub. As much as I like the original series when it came out in 1999, there are a lot of times that I had to roll my eyes at some of the jokes and some of the blatant attempts to sell merchandise. All together now. Hey Digimon, yeah, champions of the digital world. It's funny because if you read the credits, if you read anything from Digimon Tri, you kinda notice Saban really wasn't involved in this dub. And I think that is fine because the dub itself is handled with such care that even though they kept the original dub's names of the characters and kept some of the voice actors, and you have that awful music sequence at the beginning of the first two films, these are the only things that they brought over from the Saban dub, but it shows that they actually care about the source material. Because Shout Factory has kept the original dialogue, the original music, and has put a lot of thought into this, where they knew their audience has grown up and they knew what would be acceptable for this audience that won't push that audience away. They knew not to do the same thing they did 18 years ago, since this is not a Digimon for kids. As for Saban, I think they kind of gave up on Digimon because if you go to their website, you can't find any mention of Digimon. I don't think Fusion worked. Boy, those toys went to clearance fast. Again, I am very grateful for Digimon Adventure Tri because it's a series that learned what not to do from Digimon Fusion and Data Squad, that grew up with its audience and did a spectacular job of doing it. Saberspark. So it should not come to any surprise that I am a fan of cartoon reviewers. I slowly stumbled upon them a lot over the past couple years. If it wasn't for the reviewers like the Nostalgia Critic, Rebel Taxi, Anna Matt, Phantom Strider, and Brony reviewers like Silver Quill, Josh Scorcher, Anthony C, and the ANY Pony, and so many others, this channel would not have been a thing. I look up to these guys, and I respect these guys. I watched these guys for years. But if there's any one person that stepped up his game in 2017, it's Saberspark. Now I've seen Saberspark's contents before, and I'm not going to say it has been lackluster before, because almost anything that he has done is excellent. Let's just say he has been a little inconsistent, but he has finally found his calling. Now again, like many things, I have discovered Saberspark through My Little Pony, through a documentary that he made 4 years ago. If you watch it, you can tell that a lot of work and a lot of love was put into this documentary. He did his research, he has fantastic writing, his voice is meant to be in narration, not just in reviews, but even more than that. And after so many years, he's finally found his niche, starting about 2 years ago with his editorial, Why Cartoons Are Not Just for Kids. And he has improved over the years and becoming more consistent with everything he does, and he just keeps getting better. I swear 2017 has got to have been the breakout year for Saberspark, beyond the My Little Pony stuff. Like so many things, My Little Pony is just a small aspect of a person, and a lot of times we want to be viewed beyond that, because hey, My Little Pony's not gonna last forever. Hanazuki. I'm not quite sure what drew me into this delightful series. I think it's because one of the producers of My Little Pony was involved in the writing for this. Whatever the case, when I started watching it, I became fascinated. We get this moonflower girl called Hanazuki learning how to deal with her emotions, meeting new friends. There's a lot of drama, a lot of comedy, a lot of happiness and despair, and interesting characters. And even though each episode is 11 minutes long, it's enough time to tell a story. And hey, they have ongoing storylines as well. And I'm glad it's getting a second season. I'm not really sure if Hasbro is trying to sell toys or anything with this series. Well, they are, but I'm not sure if that's what the original intent was. It's Hasbro. This is a series that you definitely have to watch from the beginning, simply because you'd get lost easily if you watched it in the middle. It's an exciting series that has charm, and it gets you hooked right when you first watch it. It's also a web series on YouTube, which makes me think Hasbro really doesn't have that much faith in television or Discovery Family for that matter. When was the last time Hasbro actually put a new series on that block? Restaurant to Another World. I don't know what it is about this series. It's pretty much people enjoying food, but it's those people's backstories that have me hooked, because each one of them is interesting. I love how you get to know all of these characters before the explanation why a door to our world is showing up to the world of elves, dragons, and fairies. That aside, it is the people that have me intrigued so much that whenever I watch an episode, my attention is 100% on that episode while I'm watching. That is how fascinating this series is to me. It's like Cheers, a place where everyone knows your name, albeit you are named after your favorite dish, and you happen to be a siren. Unfortunately, the replayability of this series is not really there. After you watch this series with the original run-through, learning about these characters and their backstories, there is no longer a surprise. The series is fantastic the first time through. I just wouldn't recommend it for repeat watching. The Hey Arnold Jungle Movie. What a perfect way to end the series. Yeah, the villain was predictable, but this was great. This should have been the Hey Arnold movie that was in theaters. The best part is, unlike the original movie, this moved things along, especially with Helga, because now they didn't press the reset button. I just don't like this movie. I love this movie. It does everything right. It knew when to use the side characters and knew when to pull them back and focus on Arnold, Helga, and Gerald. They did not overstay their welcome. And it is nice that the parents were the goal for the entire movie and weren't just missing just cuz. But they weren't really involved either outside of the map. It's a shame that we waited so long for this movie, yet this was the perfect time for it to come out. The series left us wanting more, but not right away. I think this was the failure of the Hey Arnold movie, as the series was still going on when it came out, so we really weren't missing Arnold and friends. So for the Jungle movie to come out now, while enough time has passed, is perfect timing. It also kind of proves that our generation doesn't really want reboots as much as continuations, if done right. Voltron, the legendary defender. The following portion of this video is going to contain certain spoilers for Voltron, the Legendary Defender Season 4. If you don't want to be spoiled, jump ahead to the next part of this video. At this time, yeah, that's the time to jump to. I have no idea what's on the screen right now. I'm just reading from a script. First things first, I'm not going to talk about this series as a whole, because I first watched Voltron in 2016. What I am going to talk about is quite possibly my favorite episode of the series, called Reunion. From the beginning of the series, we knew Pidge had one goal on her mind, and that is finding her brother and father. In this episode, Pidge has learned information of where to find her brother. It takes her on an emotional journey through the universe, up until she finds what she thinks is his grave. Turns out, Pidge's brother is alive. It's an emotional roller coaster, and what finally got me is Pidge breaking down in front of this grave site thinking that her brother is dead. The animation at that scene deserves some kind of reward, because, my word, the rain pouring down during that scene just adds so much to it. Now, I don't normally do individual episodes like this, but this one is a special case. Go and watch Voltron, the Legendary Defender, for yourself, and watch the episode Reunion. You'll be glad you did. New Game, a charming show that intrigued me a lot. It's about the behind-the-scenes aspects of creating a new game. Yeah, it is a very interesting behind-the-scenes look of working on a video game. I don't know how accurate it is, but the characters are charming. It's great to get to know each one of these individual characters. From start to finish, it is fun to watch the progress these characters have on making this video game, from the character designs to beta testers to the finished product. And when the final episode comes around, well, for the first series, I haven't seen the second one yet, there is a sense of accomplishment because you've been through this experience alongside these characters up to their successful launch of the video game, Fairy Story. It's a slice of life anime with a little bit of fun comedy and a whole lot of charm. Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Hey, guess what? I'm not a Star Wars fanboy. I'm not really into all the lore and continuity stuff, or forgot about the littlest thing when it comes to this series. I'm a casual Star Wars fan. So apparently if I was in the fandom, I wouldn't have enjoyed this movie? That doesn't sound right. But I did enjoy this movie. It had me captivated. It had my attention. It had me at the edge of my seat a lot of times. I don't like the porgs, but that's just me. How are they and shirtless Kylo Ren, the memes we got from this movie. I also don't like the whole casino thing. I don't know how many times I rolled my eyes with that plot. Oh, and I kind of feel bad about Snook and Captain Phasma. Boy, they don't utilize those characters at all. And really, that's nitpicking stuff. I have very little complaints. Oh, and Yoda's a puppet again. It's a great movie that I was entertained with. And that's the point of being a fan of anything. Star Wars Episode 8. It's A-OK in my book. My Little Pony, the movie. Well, who didn't see this one coming? I enjoyed the movie from a fan perspective, and that's the one thing a lot of people need to understand when it comes to any movie based off of a comic franchise, a television franchise, or a toy franchise. Because their point of view is going to be very different than someone coming into the movie cold. And that's one of the problems I do have when doing my top 10 movies based off of an animated series, because while I've seen most of these series that the movies are based off of, there are quite a few that I have not seen, or it's been so long since I've seen the series, I've forgot a lot of the elements from the characters in that show. My most recent review of Doug's first movie is still a boring movie, but I did point out that I don't remember any time in the series where Skeeter goes looking for the lake monster. Somebody put in the comments that Skeeter does that all the time, talks about it and goes looking for it. And that is a problem because there is a lack of familiarity in the series. Kinda hinders a review like that. I haven't watched Doug since the 90s. So I was pretty much going into that movie cold. That is the opposite of My Little Pony the movie. Because again, I'm watching it from a fan's perspective, instead of somebody who's just going in there and witnessing the constant yelling from Pinkie Pie for the first time. Seriously, I like Pinkie. I really do. But if you're trying to get new people into a series, then don't have her yelling at the top of her lungs in your advertising, because that is a turnoff. My Little Pony from a fan's perspective is really nice. I like the songs. I like the new characters they brought in, although not really any of them stood out, including the Sea Ponies. The character that did stand out was Tempest. But you have all these characters that you're familiar with and you have gone on adventures with for 7 seasons. And a spin-off that could have been good if it was written by someone who wrote anime. One movie! Equestria Girls only had one good movie. I've seen a lot of people compare this movie to the original My Little Pony movie, and yeah, from a new person's perspective, there are comparisons, especially if you don't know the characters. Tell you what, I'm going to have a review of My Little Pony the movie coming up. Here within the next 2 or 3 months, I'll go into more detail about everything I just said. My Little Pony the movie. Good movie for the fans of the show. New people, yeah. Toad War. I've seen a couple of Game Grumps animations before, but this one takes the cake. I mean, I couldn't stop laughing throughout the entire animation, which is well done for something so simple as people playing a video game and making up creepy stories. And it's great! It's not the first time I've seen something like this. Thanks to being part of the Brony community, we have something called Two Sisters Play, which is pretty much the same thing, adding animation to 2 guys playing a video game. But there's a lot of passion to this, and it's so freaking hilarious. Toad War. Go check it out. Coco. So I put 3 animated films on this list. One is kind of obvious since I'm a fan of the series. The other one should be kind of obvious as well. But this one should be the most obvious. I love Coco. This is one of those movies I wasn't too sure about because you know the whole thing, it looks like the Book of Life. And the whole concern about being a movie about a different culture. Which is a stupid thing, I know. But then again, anime is really accepted around here, so why not the Latino culture as well? And boy, does it deliver in this movie. It plays to your emotions so much. And yes, I did figure out the twist somewhere in the middle. I believe it's where Miguel and Hector were looking for a guitar and they found this old man who has a guitar, and something happened that I won't give away. I'm not going to go into any spoilers. But even when I figured out that twist, there was a whole nother twist that I was not expecting. We have to talk about the animation of the world Pixar created for this movie because it is beautiful. It's seriously the experience that you need to see. One thing I do appreciate about this movie, even though it is a movie about singing and performing, it is good that they did not go into the standard songs out of nowhere trope that Disney movies tend to have, because I don't think it would have been appropriate for this movie. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that trope, I'm just saying the songs that they did have would be a little less effective if they went that route. It's nice at the end of the year that we can say that 2017 wasn't all that bad of a year for animated movies, because at least we had 1 or 2 or 3 out of, what, 15? The Mama Luigi Project, Super Mario World Reanimated Collab 2017. You know what I like? A good collaboration, especially with animation and animators. No, this isn't the first thing that I've seen with a bunch of animators teaming up and reanimating a television series. It's usually an anime, and the very first one was Sailor Moon. But Mama Luigi is very interesting. With a variety of animators, you tend to get a lot of different art style and different variations of what they want for each scene that they were given. It really works well, especially with this particular episode of Super Mario World. So being a fan of the Super Mario Bros. Super Show and being a fan of Super Mario Bros. 3, the video game, I did watch Super Mario Bros. 3, the series. However, I'd gotten a little annoyed by it. I'm not sure if it was because of the Koopaling voices or because they got the names wrong, which I understand the reason why that happened. But I think it's because of how bad the songs were in Super Mario Bros. 3. It got to the point where I had to say, nope, I'm not going to deal with that. I didn't watch because there were better things to watch and the animation quality went down quite a bit. And here's what they did. With Captain N, they cut down a couple episodes from half an hour to 15 minutes. And when they did have new episodes of the series, the animation quality was crap. But that's not the reason why I didn't watch Super Mario World. The reason why I couldn't stand Super Mario World is because I couldn't stand Yoshi. He talks in baby talk. If I wanted baby talk, I'll watch Rugrats. However, it worked well for the fan project. And I love fan projects like this because it gives great exposure to those animators and creators who deserve the attention. I have a lot of respect for animators because animation is hard work. So on top of this, and what Toonamps did for the 20th anniversary, any exposure to freelance animators and professional animators is a good thing. And this thing is so freaking funny. But to all those animators, thank you for your hard work.
Really nice. This is a show I really like. It's not even a show. It's some random web series on the Cartoon Network app. But it's so enjoyable because it reminds me of what Cartoon Network once was when it comes to the original content.
Oh my god, that voice is hard to do. Mad props to the voice actor that does the voice of Black Hat. Anyway, I love this web series. We don't get that many series on Cartoon Network that goes to a dark place anymore. With the exception of maybe Adventure Time. Then something like Black Hat comes along, and it's kind of refreshing, because it is different. And I really hope the series gets greenlit, because it would bring something new and refreshing to the network. The network has really gotten into a slump as of late, bringing in shows that have pastel colors like Steven Universe, We Bare Bears, The Powerpuff Girls, but we don't ever go into a dark place that Villainous does. Not anymore, at least. And we also need something with more substance that we don't really get from shows like Teen Titans Go and Mighty Magiswords. Something like OKKO is a step in the right direction. However, we've also gotten into the slump where shows are getting greenlit because they have a web app game associated with that series, like OKKO and Mighty Magiswords. They can't be only on Cartoon Network just to sell a product. That can't be right. That's not the only reason why those two shows exist, is it? Cartoon Network really needs to go back to where cartoons exist just to entertain, not to sell products. And I think Villainous is the step in the right direction. Ironically enough, Villainous is a show about selling products. What the? Who turned off the lights? Turn them back on. Seriously, what kind of light switch or light sounds like that when they're turned on? Whoa! Looks like the 2018 style is here. Onward and upward. Let's continue this list. Boy, this was an unnecessary detour. Samurai Jack. Now this is a continuation done right. It's been a year since we've been given the reboot of Powerpuff Girls. And what can I say that hasn't been said before about this series? Powerpuff Girls 2016 is a lackluster series that forgot what made the original series endearing. It turned these what is supposed to be preschoolers with superpowers into these Wunderkinds doing remarkable things outside of their powers. I'm sorry, but Bubbles is not supposed to be a computer whiz. She's in kindergarten. She's supposed to be a little girl with superpowers. That's the joke. Anyway, getting back to Samurai Jack, what happened with the Powerpuff Girls? We were kind of worried that the same thing would happen to Jack, where it would follow the same path. Luckily it didn't. What we got was a surprisingly darker, grittier world, where we are introduced to interesting characters, including a love interest. We deal with Jack's inner struggles, and while we do have some adult humor, it doesn't overstay its welcome, because they knew when not to use it and when to use it. Samurai Jack is the perfect continuation of a series that left us back in the early 2000s. It's great. However, as good as the continuation is, we do have to talk about the ending. The ending where we have this spectacular war against Aku and all of Jack's friends. It's bittersweet considering how it happened once Jack went back in time and defeated Aku back there. You realize at once that when Jack marries Hashi and she fades away, the sudden realization that Jack's friends also faded away. There could have been two results that Gendy Tartakovsky could have had when writing this ending. They could have done the whole Jack going back in time and taking out Aku and changing everything in the future, ultimately killing his friends. And oh boy, I don't want to get into the whole time continuation thing. And Jack causing an alternate dimension and everything like that. It's giving me a migraine. Or Jack could have stayed in the future and defeated Aku back then and went on to fix the rest of the world. It's really a 50-50 chance ending, especially with a lot of plot holes that were left open. The series was good. The ending is just bittersweet for me. Animation versus YouTube. Do I have issues with YouTube reactors? Yes. Yes, I do. Especially the ones that ask you to send them stuff just for sitting on a couch and watching television or YouTube videos. It kind of makes me think I'm doing this whole YouTube thing wrong. With that said, I am guilty of watching reactors mainly for validation. Did they laugh at what I laughed at? Anyway, hold on to your butts because I'm about to validate YouTube reactors' existence. Makes me so mad. Sadly, reactors are important to the YouTube community as they bring awareness to videos and content creators that I would not have found out about on my own. And that is exactly what happened with animation versus YouTube. My word, this is a fun video to watch. Just because it takes a lot of well-known YouTube videos and use them as a weapon against these poor stick figures. To tell you the truth, I've seen this video on my front page before, but I never thought of anything about it. Simply because, you know, it's YouTube. And a lot of animators are having problems with the YouTube system as of late. I thought it was another one of these where the fair use videos, or another person complaining about YouTube analytics again. So, again, I didn't give much thought about it until I saw a reactor reacting to it. So I was like, maybe there's something more to this. Turns out there was. It opened me up to a lot more fascinating videos from Alan Becker. While it is true that he's been doing this for years, I just now caught on. And that is a problem with me, because I'm watching Animator versus YouTube, and I come to realize that a lot of people in these videos, I don't know. Or simply, I don't want to watch them. PewDiePie. It's kind of the reason why I don't care much for YouTube Rewind. I'm sorry, I'm not a drama guy. So Alan Becker is a genius when it comes to this particular video and the animation. He brings the simplest things to life, from annotations to the like button, even the YouTube ads. It's amazing what this guy can do. On top of everything else, all his other videos pretty much do the same thing. It's fascinating when you watch the Firefox logo come to life. There are a lot of great animations, and there's also a lot of great animators out there. And Alan Becker is one of them. The Lego Batman movie. So I had to pick and choose what movies to see over the year simply because money. Money and time. I usually go to see a movie in theaters if the score on Rotten Tomatoes is over 75%, or if it's a movie I really want to see. The movie has to be good and have to be worth my time. So luckily, with the Lego Batman movie, we got both. And boy, does this movie bring back a lot of nostalgic memories. And that is because I am someone who grew up with Batman the Animated Series. It's nice to see a bunch of well-known Batman villains, and a bunch of side character Batman villains, I guess. Not only that, but I had a lot of fun in this movie. It was so cleverly written, and the use of non-Batman LEGO characters was great too. I wouldn't mind having a LEGO Gremlins movie, although I think they were only in this movie just to advertise the LEGO Dimensions toy line, which got cancelled. I don't know what it is with Will Arnett. He's the king of the canceled sitcoms. Well, it's either him or Matthew Perry, but what Will Arnett does is so fantastic. He's just so funny. He's so talented, and if given the right direction, he can bring the right emotion at the right time, especially in the LEGO Batman movie. And at least Barbara Gordon's and Batman's romantic interest is not creepy in this version. If you want a fun romp with some creative directions and yet another portal in the sky, give the Batman LEGO movie a try. If you want the Dragon Ball Evolution version of Ninjago, then go see the Ninjago movie. At least it is better than Dragon Ball Evolution. Asdfmovie. Yeah, I know these guys have been doing this for about 10 years now, but I just discovered them this year. And you had the living Tombstone to thank for this. Get used to hearing that. If it wasn't for me being in the My Little Pony fandom, I would never been exposed to anything like Asdfmovie. And of course, my first exposure to these guys was through Beep Beep I'm a Sheep, a fun catchy song that led to more discoveries with the Asdfmovie franchise. This series is fantastic. It's so funny, it's so bizarre, it's so simple. But as we've discovered over the years, simple isn't bad. You have weird moments, you have oh no moments, you have oh I see what you did there moments. You have turtle bombs, I love trains, do the flop, and so much more. These videos are a riot, and if you haven't seen them, the links are in the description, along with a lot of other things through YouTube that are my favorite things. Little Witch Academia. I'm quite a sucker for Harry Potter, especially the earlier books and movies when we were introduced to the environment of Hogwarts. While I do like ferocious beasts and where to find them, I can't really get all that nostalgic about it because of the location. I like the school atmosphere. I like the journey of discovery, and that's why I like Little Witch Academia. Now don't get me wrong, this is nothing like Harry Potter. And that's because Luna Nova's atmosphere is fascinating. You got a main character that's likable, Ako's ambitious, she's a klutz, she's a nuisance, she's Usagi, but she also has this charm you cannot deny. The side characters are wonderful as well, especially Susie, who has this dry wit and malicious attitude. You have interesting side characters with interesting teachers, and you have this amazing mythology. One of the fascinating things that they do is with the dragons and how they deal with them in the series. Now, people who haven't watched Little Witch Academia tend to compare it to Harry Potter. Don't. If you're going to watch it and think it's going to be Harry Potter, then you're in for a disappointment. Like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. Watch Little Witch Academia with an open mind and try not to compare it with anything. Do that with any form of entertainment. If you do, you're going to enjoy whatever you watch a lot more. Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid. This was a highlight of my year. It's so cute, so malicious, so self-referential. It knows how to have a good time without going too far with the adult jokes. And while I do love Taro and Company, my favorite dragon for some reason is Fafnir. I don't know why. This is anime comedy at its best. It's so off the wall, but you still care about these dragons and their relationship with the humans. It's charming, and it has great replayability. If I had to pick another off-the-wall comedy that I like almost as equally as this, it's The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. It's great, but Psyche constantly complaining does tend to get grating after a while. And of course, how can I not pass up these dragons? Bad lip reading, Star Wars, The Force Awakens. Now I'm sure that most of you guys have stumbled upon bad lip reading before, if not during the last presidential election, then through other means. I actually discovered it during the Super Bowl a few years ago. Now, most of the time when it comes to bad lip reading, it tends to be incoherent babble or makes no sense. There's no real story or plot. And the same can be said for most Star Wars bad lip reading. For the most part. Still really good. This time it seems a little different. Sure, there's some babbling, but the writing seems to be a little more focused this time. Be it ninjas or birds pecking out eyes of toy Han Solo, to Snook not wearing any pants, everything they did with this one works really well. All the pieces seem to click. And while I do like other Star Wars bad lip reading, The Force Awakens has got to be my favorite. Although there's no catchy song this time. Oh well, at least we have Christmas Is Here by Donald Trump. Wonder Woman. So I had to pick between two different individual superhero movies. So the individuals were Wonder Woman versus Spider-Man Homecoming. And the winner is Wonder Woman. I just said that. But don't get me wrong, I like Spider-Man Homecoming. It just revisited this well one too many times, and it's nice to see something new. I love Wonder Woman, the movie where nobody said Wonder Woman throughout the entire movie. I love that Diana doesn't feel like a traditional superhero, and I don't mean it's because she's not a man or anything like that. It's because she's like a hero for the sake of being a hero. Diana doesn't have a tragic backstory. She doesn't have angst, she's not a brooding teen, she's just someone who wants to help people. And when you think about it, it's kind of nice that even if she doesn't have superpowers, Diana would still be out there helping people. It's also nice to see that this movie tiptoes away from traditional cliches that you would expect in a movie like this. I said it before, I hate fish out of water scenarios, where someone new comes through a portal or into a new world and they don't understand all the rules and everything, and so wacky comedy gold from some misunderstandings happens. This movie doesn't do that. It doesn't fall into some of the same traps that some other movies do where their main character is a woman falls into. Because we're not sitting in a 3-hour movies where you're constantly hearing, "I'm a man, you can't do this. I'm a woman, yes I can. No you can't. Yes I can. No you can't. Yes I can." While it is there, it's not hitting you over the head over and over and over again by telling you. For the most part, they do it by showing you. They don't demean the male characters while doing it. It's a good balance. While the cliche is there, the part is so small that it doesn't overstay its welcome, which is a good thing. You get pure passion from Diana, who, honest to God, feels like a real hero. All of these people in this movie feel like real heroes, and every single one of them has a reason to be in this movie. I don't think anyone is wasted. Wonder Woman is by far my favorite superhero movie of 2017. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So I watched a number of superhero films over the past year, and now I'm going to talk about superhero team-ups. And just so you know, Justice League isn't even in the conversation here, so I had to pick between Thor Ragnarok and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The reason why I'm putting Thor here as a superhero team is because, yeah, it does feel like an extension of the Avengers with Hulk and Loki and... yeah, there's a whole bunch of people there. But if I had to compare the two, I'm going to have to go with Guardians of the Galaxy with this one. Again, both movies are a lot of fun. It's just, I don't know. There was so much more to Guardians of the Galaxy. When it comes down to it, I think it's because of the feels. It's not my favorite superhero movie of the year, but it still ranks up there. It's so fun with the betrayals and the oh no moments. And of course, Rocket is a hoot. And I almost cried. Did I cry? Yeah, I think I cried. Okay. You have a movie that delivers so much emotion. It's hard not to like it. And now I really want to ride that ride at Disney's California Adventure. I know. Boo! They took out Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. But to tell you honestly, if I rode the one at Walt Disney World, why on earth would I want to ride it again at Disneyland? Give me something different. Video game music. Back in my youth, I absolutely loved video games. But of course, real life started to kick in. You go to work, you've got to have a life. You've got to prioritize things that are pretty much not video games. So yeah, I've been out of the video game loop for some time now. Outside of the bathroom Game Boy Advance that gets disinfected every time, right?
right? I'm looking at you.
Anyway, even though I don't play current games, I'm very much aware of them. You know, YouTube, the internet, other people who are not me playing them. Sigh. I want to play video games again. Maybe I should make a Steam wishlist. Anywho, I have heard a few fan-made songs before, especially with the Living Tombstone, but I never really dived deep enough into the genre until I started listening to YouTube music. That and I finally started utilizing Spotify. So YouTube plays music from the stuff that you like on their music mix playlists, and then plays other music based off of the choices that you like. Again, the Living Tombstone comes into play here, because even though he's no longer doing My Little Pony stuff anymore, he has done quite a few things with Five Nights at Freddy. Although I'm not really a fan of the game itself. To be honest, I'm not really that fan of the jump scare stuff, but I do love the fan music that comes from it. And thanks to both YouTube and Spotify, I've discovered a whole variety of different fan songs from a whole variety of different places. Songs from Brental Floss, Random Encounters, DA Games, Caleb Hells, Fandroid, JT Music, Starbomb, and so much more. Fan songs from games like Team Fortress 2, Overwatch, Bendy and the Ink Machine, Undertale, songs about nostalgic games like Legend of Zelda, Dr. Mario, and Super Smash Bros. And one of the best things about these music videos is that they did put a lot of hard work into them, because some of them are like cinematic movies, and you have animation, well done animation. A lot of care, a lot of thought, a lot of love has gone into these music videos. And hey, I love them, maybe you'd love them too. Check them out in the links in the description. Amagi Brilliant Park. I'm not sure how many of you know this, but I used to work for an amusement park for 6 years. Now, does that qualify me to comment on how things are ran at Amagi Brilliant Park? Absolutely not. But this does bring back memories of the days when I did work at an amusement park. What really got me was the opening credits. One of my favorite things about working at an amusement park is when the children and parents got all excited about the fun atmosphere that we provided, and they forget about their worries of life. They don't think about politics or anything like that at an amusement park. They just go and have a good time. And the opening for the series captures that excitement perfectly. When we get to the series itself, it is very fascinating. Now, while it does look into the business aspects of the park, and that's part of the fun of the series, this is more of a fantasy. And there's a whole lot more to running an amusement park than this show indicates. But the whole story is intriguing, with Kanye, who apparently used to be a big star back in the day, who was kind of forced into running this enchanted theme park with all its employees, who, except for maybe a handful, are all fantasy creatures from another dimension. But let me tell you, the theme park itself is not what brought me to the series. What brought me to the series is the promotional material featuring Buntacoon. Buntacoon is a character from a series that I totally love called Full Metal Panic Fumoffu. So I thought this series would just be as good as Fumoffu. So yeah, that's what brought me in. The character of Mofu is a different character, but he does look almost the same as Buntacoon. A lot of fun elements, a great cast of characters, and a fantasy element that just keeps me coming back for more. DuckTales 2017. The 2017 DuckTales. I'm hot and cold with this one. I'm actually hot and cold with a lot of animated series this year. Anyway, getting back to DuckTales, I'm hot and cold about this series because with the original series, we get a little more variety when it comes to who the series is focused on. You have one episode focusing on just Scrooge, and the kids show up a little, while you get another episode focusing on the kids, and Scrooge is there very little. And you get some episodes that focus on both Scrooge and the kids. But with this series, you get a little too much of the kids, because they are the focus in every episode. It wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the fact that Webby can get on your nerves a lot. Why the yelling? It's like she does it all the time. Webby doesn't have to be Mabel. But she also doesn't always have to be right either, because she is kind of a nag of the series. She's there to prove their nephews wrong all the time, whether it's Huey and the Terraformian guys, or Louie and the Mummy. It gets to the point where you kind of want less Webby and more focus on the other guys. It's too bad because she is an improvement over the original. The focus is too much on Webby and not enough on the other characters. She kind of needs to go away for a little bit. But then again, that's the only complaint I have with this series, because the series is great. Do I like this better than the original series? Some parts yes and some parts no, but there is heart to this series. You know that there's a lot of effort put into this, and I think it's great that the nephews have individual personalities. Their voices are a little too old. There is the issue that I have that when they brought Mark Beeks in, he sounds exactly like the nephews and I couldn't tell who was who outside of looking at the visuals on the screen. I think it's great that Donald Duck has more of a presence in this series for like 2 episodes. Was I expecting more from this series? Yes. Again, I like the focus to be more on Scrooge and less with the kids, especially when dealing with Launchpad and Gyro and Mrs. Beakley and other characters. We haven't even had an episode where Scrooge faces off with the Beagle Boys yet. It's just been the kids. Again, it's one of the better series and one of my favorite things. It's just I was hoping for more in the 2017 series. So here's some quickies. Star versus the Forces of Evil. The Battle for Muni. A fun miniseries that tackles a few social issues on how 2 different groups view each other. It opens a door for a possible new evil, answering some questions and providing new ones, proving not everything is in black and white. DreamWorks Dragons Race to the Edge. True mastermind is revealed. I like DreamWorks Dragons. As much as I wish the setting was back on Burke, this series is still pretty good and it still surprises me. And nothing surprised me more than the mastermind behind the Dragon Hunters. I won't give it away, but wow. Was this the writer's plans from the beginning? Or was this a spur-of-the-moment idea? The characters have been around from the beginning, and the signs are kind of there, but still, this was very much unexpected. My Hero Academia Season 2. Aside from there being too many names to remember in this series, I still love it. Great character interactions, the introduction of the hero killer, Midoriya's resolve, and of course, All Might. This series gives you so much in a short time span, which is good for a shonen series, because normally shonen series stretches arcs for months to years. Steven Universe. There were some good episodes, there were some great episodes, and then there are the episodes where we had to deal with the backwash from Beach City. Everything with the zoo was great. Everything on Gem World was great. Steven moping around for 5 or 6 episodes about Connie is not. I am hot and cold about this series. When it's good, it's focusing on the gems. When it's bad, it's dealing with Ronaldo, Mayor Dewey, and Kevin. Why is it the worst episodes involve Kevin? Can we not ever go back to the cool kids? Please? Adventure Time. The Islands and Elements arcs. I love Adventure Time, but they keep adding more and more characters, and I'm confusing them with other characters. I thought Patience was Betty. I thought Uncle Gumball was the King of Ooh. There's too many of these people to remember. Each mini-series is fantastic, with Finn discovering his mom and then having to save the Kingdom of Ooh. It reminds me so much of how I love the series, and it also reminds me of how much I hate Cartoon Network's current scheduling. It's amazing how much you forget when there's long gaps in between new episodes. Episodes that should be on reruns on the network, so we don't forget. My followers. Boy, what a great year 2017 was for me in the growth of this channel. And to top it all off, less than a week we're into 2018. I get over 1,000 subs. Thank you so much. For a channel 2 years ago that barely had 20 subscribers when I first started this format, to celebrating 400 subscribers last April, to make it to this milestone, I cannot appreciate you guys enough. And just so you guys know, I'm going to continue to march on. The history of Fox Kids will continue. I'm going to continue to count down the top 10 cartoon animated movies based off an existing cartoon series, performance-wise. I hate that title, I hate it with a passion. And once that series is over, I have something planned big for my next series. And I know a lot of you guys are going to love it, as it's in the same vein as my History of Fox Kids series. I'm going to do more historical videos because the History of Wacky Races did so well. You guys seem to like that stuff, so that's what I'm going to do. And of course, let's get this out of the way. I started the Toon News series that hopefully I'm going to continue. And I heard you guys loud and clear, Harvey is leaving. And what you're going to get is me. I'm going to do a 1,000 subscriber special, so stay tuned for that announcement. And that's going to be in an update video. Oops, I almost ruined that video. You're going to want to stay tuned to some of my social media accounts. because I'm going to post some special videos there and some polls and stuff. Again, thank you so much for being a part of this channel. Without you guys, this would not be a thing. So onwards to 10,000 subscribers and getting that damn play button. We've come to the end. And with that said, one simply does not judge a cartoon by what decade it is from, but by whether or not that cartoon entertained you. I'm Toonamps. Thanks for watching.